1. This afternoon, a very weathered-looking woman walks into the lobby and asks if we had rooms available. Let's call her Smokey. I tell Smokey what our prices are, and she asks if she can pay cash. I tell her we actually need a card. Now, to be precise, we do accept cash for the room, but we still need a card on file for incidentals. But I didn't get that specific with her, because I didn't actually expect her to stay, and was hoping she would just leave. Smokey was clearly trouble from the get-go, and I wanted her out of there as quickly as possible. She mumbled something about not having a card, asked another vague general question, and then left. I thought that would be that. I was so wrong. About an hour later, she comes back. She would like to stay here after all, as it turns out. I asked her what room type she decided on. She wants a bed in one of our shared rooms. Great. I need a photo ID and a credit or debit card.
You want both of them at the same time, or one of them first?
I tell her I need both. She reaches into her bra and pulls out her ID.
Don't pull on it,
she warns me. There's a layer of plastic coating on the front of the ID that's ripped up and crumpled against itself. If I uncrumple it and press it flat, I can read all the lettering on her ID. Great. Okay, now I need your card. She wants her ID back before she'll give me her card. I was a little taken aback, since normally people actually do give me both at the same time, and while I have both in front of me, I can verify that the names match. But I figure I already typed her name in, so I can check it that way. At this point, she starts unwrapping a Visa card that she bought at the store. I tell her she has to have a card with her name on it. Now she starts yelling at me.
You never said that. I told you the card I had from my bank stopped working.
I'm sorry for the misunderstanding, but it's actually fairly standard for hotels to require you to have a card that matches your name, I tell her.
Well, is it for incidentals? Can I give you a cash deposit?
My manager was close by and able to jump in at this point. He tells her we can take a $200 cash deposit. Smokey is now pleased that a manager is paying attention to her.
Oh, are you the manager? You know, I used to work in hotel administration,
she tells us. I find it extremely unlikely that someone who's worked in a hotel would be so shocked that someone at a hotel front desk would want a credit or debit card with her name on it, but whatever. I take her money, a $100 bill and 5 20s for the deposit, then some more 20s for the room. I give her a receipt for the deposit, have her sign our check-in sheet, and give her a key for her room. I thought that would be that. I was so wrong. Approximately 3 hours later, she comes down to the desk again.
You know,
Smokey tells me,
I'm just not liking the feeling of the shared room, and I haven't done anything in there. All I did was sit on the bed and organize my makeup,
she says. She tells me she wants to switch to a private room. I tell her the private room is going to be $180 plus tax.
What? A few hours ago it was $140.
This is absolutely false.
Is this a hostel or a hotel?
Apparently, it's outrageous that we dare charge market-rate prices on a busy weekend with a major event in town.
How did the price jump to $180 when it was only $140 a couple hours ago?
The price was not $140 a couple of hours ago.
Well, are there any discounts?
I offer her quite a hefty discount and calculate the price between what she paid and the new price. Apparently, it's still too expensive for her. At this point, my heart is highly elevated with fight or flight adrenaline coursing through me. Smokey was being extremely hostile in a way that I'm afraid I can't really capture properly here, and the dialogue I've presented here is but a fraction of what actually went down. At this point, she decides that she just wants to check out. And guess what she wants now? If you guessed she wanted a full refund, you would be right. So I pull up the reservation log. Miss Smokey, you checked in almost 3 hours ago. It will be quite impossible for me to give you a refund.
Well, okay. So let's take the fraction of the time that I've spent out of 24 hours.
No, I cannot give you a refund. She asks for her deposit back. Certainly, I'll need your key back.
I'll give you your key back after you give me my deposit back.
I'll give you your deposit back after you return the key, I tell her. She pulls the key card out of her bra. then fishes out the security pass that we had put with the key with her name and reservation number printed on it, before she gives it back to me. I have no idea why she would want to keep that. I open my cash drawer and give back exactly those bills, the 100 and the 5 ratty 20s she gave me earlier out of her bra.
Now I need a checkout receipt.
We don't do checkout receipts.
Yes, you do. You have it within your power to make a checkout receipt. I signed a form when I checked in. You gave me a receipt when I gave you a deposit. Now I need a receipt to show that I checked out and got my deposit back.
I mean, I would think having the cash in your hand would be proof that you got your deposit back, but whatever. This woman was not going to leave without a checkout receipt, whatever that was. Fine, what do you want it to say?
It should say I've checked out, and today's date and the time.
Fine. I opened up a text document, typed in, I've checked out, along with the date and time, and printed out on our crappy receipt printer. Smokey is not pleased. I explained to her I gave her exactly what she asked for, and that I can have it say whatever she wants it to say. She just needs to tell me what she wants on this stupid piece of paper, because I sure as hell don't know what a checkout receipt is. She tells me to add the name of our property and her name. I add, I print, she leaves. I immediately put her on the DNR list. 2. As night auditors, we've all dealt with our fair share of homeless people who try to stick around a little too long and make it all the more difficult when you have to track them down and ask them to leave. I'm incredibly sympathetic, and I understand that unfortunate situations can hit anyone, but I won't lose my job or risk a serious incident between a guest and not guest by letting someone sleep or loiter anywhere they're not allowed. When I arrived last night, my second shift informs me that the older man I had passed on my way in, who was sitting just to the right of our desk, had come in an hour earlier and was struggling to find a ride, or waiting for a ride to come through. So they told him he could sit for a while where he was. A rookie mistake, yes, but I understood. He was clearly old, looked a little worse for wear, and had to use a cane to walk. I know it's hard to turn away elderly in need especially. Also, they had told him already at that point that he couldn't sit there all night, and that I would be asking him to leave at my discretion because we can't let him be there if he's not a guest. Apparently, that had been all well and good to him, and he'd been very generous and understanding when she informed him as such. So I assume I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and let him sit down in cool air for another hour or so. I'm in the south, and the heat and humidity here is suffocating, even in the middle of the night. Being homeless is difficult enough as it is, and I know sometimes just a quiet place to rest your feet can help. Well, come midnight, I was getting ready to do a walkthrough of the lobby and make sure everything was closed up. When I exit the office and look over at the man, he's passed out in the seat snoring, and his shirt was rolled halfway up to his chest, so his stomach was out. Okay, I was going to tell him he had to get ready to leave anyway, but now I really have to. He's right by the desk and front doors, not a great look for any guest coming to check in. So I wake him up, politely inform him that the lobby is no longer open to anyone, and I'll need him to leave now. He was really confused at first. Even asked me if the blinking red light on the ATM meant there was a message for him. So I told him he was still waiting on that ride. Unlikely, I know. He could sit out on the benches outside for a little while longer, and that was the best I could do right now. I should have asked him to leave altogether, but the guy really seemed like a tired old grandpa, and I'm weak to that. He was super cordial too, and said he understood and he would go. So I left him there, finished my walkthrough, and got doing some billing I needed done. About 40 minutes later, I see movement at the desk on the cameras and realize he hasn't left at all. Unfortunately, we just updated our camera system, so now the front desk only covers where our agents stand, and he was standing at a spot that was just a little out of line of sight. Unless he stuck his hand out or something, which is how I realized it. So I go out, and again he's sleeping. Now I'm a little frustrated. I wake him up, inform him he has to leave, and that second shift had already told him ahead of time that this would happen. Let him know he absolutely cannot just sleep in the lobby, and I already have been very patient with him as it is. Again, he's apologetic, and assures he'll get going and even starts to gather up his things. I return to the back to give the man the decency of not staring him down as he hobbled outside. But I'm not hearing any other movement some 10 minutes later, Lo and behold, I leave the office again, and there he still is, but at least he's awake again this time around. So I finally tell him if I need to, I'm fully prepared to have non-emergency services come out to help him find a way to wherever he needs to go. I remind him he was told about this from second shift, and that I have given him 2 warnings already, and this was the last one. He absolutely needed to leave. Now, of course, he flips the switch. Now he wants the name of the hotel, corporate's name and number, the name of the managers, and my name, so he can hand them all over to an attorney. I couldn't help it. I asked him what on earth an attorney was going to do. He just kept repeating what he wanted, so I told him at that point I can't engage with him any longer, and if he had a legitimate issue, then he can call the desk in the AM and get whatever information he wanted. I told him I wasn't giving out my name now for safety reasons. He starts in that the manager last night, some guy, was really polite and okay with him and didn't bother him. I have to ruin his fun there and let him know that A, our GM doesn't work night shifts, and B, I was the only one working last night, and we had never interacted before. That shut him up, and he finally started to get up and make to leave, but he stopped by the desk before he did, and started asking for all the information again. I told him to look up the number and call in the AM if he had a legitimate complaint, as per what I said before. Then he asked me to sell him a blanket, and seemed so incredibly put out that I told him I absolutely was not going to do that. No, I could not donate any blankets to him. I started to tell him I could give him the address of a shelter or call non-emergency to see if they can help him. But he started walking away and yelling over me that I was unhelpful and rude. At the end of all this, all I can really do is laugh because seriously, you're going to take this to an attorney and say what? A hotel that I was not a guest at in any way asked me to leave their lobby because I was sleeping there, and now I'm going to sue. Good luck getting to corporate to complain about how their hotel didn't allow you to freely use the space they expect big bucks to come from. And the entitlement and attitude when he couldn't get what he wanted is just mind-boggling. I just took a vacation, but I think I need another one already. 3. The other day I was working my typical morning shift. On this particular day, we had a guest getting married on the property. I had checked the bride into a couple of her rooms around 2 hours before check-in time. Not an easy feat when housekeeping is as understaffed as ours. A couple days earlier, she was the nicest person, but just seemed tired from traveling. Around 7:40 a.m., a bridesmaid came down to ask for some extra towels. I took down her room number and told her I would have housekeeping bring some up to her. She started getting really difficult, asking me how long it was going to take. I tell her housekeeping doesn't get here until 8, so they'll be here around then. She then gets really snippy with me, asking why I can't just take some from another room, we were fully booked, and bring them up to her and blah blah blah. Mind you, I'm the only staff member in the hotel until housekeeping starts at 8, and I'm not allowed to leave the desk unattended, but I eventually get her to leave, with some minor huffing and puffing on her part. Then at around 12 p.m. I get a phone call from another room. Caller ID said vacant because of the glitch. From a woman saying she locked herself out of a different room and asks if someone can come up and let her into the room. I tell her I can't come upstairs to let her in, but if she wants to come down to the desk, I can get her a new key. She then got very angry and said, I do not need a new key. They're locked in my room and I need someone to come and let me into my room. I then tell her again that I can't come up and let her in, but I can make her a new key, adding that I have to verify that she's the correct person on the reservation. She then demands that she get transferred to my manager. I transfer her, manager doesn't pick up, because she's in a meeting. Then Karen's daughters come down, young teenagers probably, and asked for a key to the room. I said, okay, can I see your ID? Safety procedure. They say they don't have an ID and start listing off every name in the wedding party like that's going to persuade me. I'm pretty understanding if you don't have an ID, locked it in the room, so I asked them to verify the postal code on the reservation. UTF is going to know someone else's postal code. The daughter said some random postal code. I tell her that's not correct, and I'll still have to see an ID that matches the reservation. She said, it's an Edmonton postal code, though. There's multiple postal codes in Edmonton. Also not actually from Edmonton. And then Karen came huffing and puffing up to the front desk, slams her ID down and says, do you have some personal vendetta against me? Stunned. You've been treating me horribly for 3 days. Your customer service skills are terrible. Mind you, I'm 19 and have a very young-looking face, and this 40-year-old woman is full-on screaming at me. I start saying, I'm sorry you feel that way. Is there anything specifically I did to make you feel like that? And she says, just give me my fucking room key. I oblige, again saying I'm sorry if I said anything to offend you and make you feel like that. I explain that I was just following policy, and she yells again she understands policy, but I have apparently been nothing but rude to her for 3 days. After getting her key, she told me to tell my manager to call her ASAP, because she's going to complain about me and whatnot. After that interaction, I was very shaken up and had to go to the bathroom to collect myself, aka have a panic attack. I then came back to the front desk where my manager was because people were ringing the bell, and I was probably in there for 5 to 10 minutes. Also, my eyes were completely bloodshot and swollen, and my manager doesn't bat an eye. I also had to sit in the office for a further 20 minutes, trying to stop hyperventilating. Very loud process, as much as I tried to be quiet. Throughout the whole thing, the only person that asked me if I was okay was the maintenance man. My manager didn't even ask me what happened. With a breaking voice, I told her the bride screamed at me and wants to talk to her. When I asked my manager later how the conversation went, she said what happened wasn't a big deal. I responded it kind of was a big deal when I'm getting screamed at, and she said, in a monotone voice, yes, I asked her not to communicate with you like that, and that the bride won't be coming back down to the front desk. The bride did come back down to talk to me about something unrelated, didn't apologize, of course, and my manager sent me home early because I seemed uncomfortable. I don't know, I've really been debating quitting this job because I'm going back to school and have been working there for a year, and my manager has screwed me over time and time again, paid me less than new hires, cut my hours after calling in sick, booked days off, even told me she thought she was doing me a favor for giving me 20 hours one week. As I say, I'm going to university this fall and I'm debating on part-time or not. Also, when I had a panic attack for 20 minutes in the office, I was sitting in the back watching the cameras and trying to calm myself down fast enough to be able to do my job. This was also a slow time in the day, and I didn't stop helping guests. It wasn't the first time I've got screamed at. Over 3 years in customer service, this particular situation caught me on a bad day, and I'd been working for over a week straight, generally exhausted. What really rubs me the wrong way is that management couldn't care less about what happened, even though they agreed that I didn't do anything wrong. Also, my direct manager has little to no experience working the front desk. The hires and training have to teach her things. 4. I've been working at this place for some time now, and I've been facing so many unbelievable situations that I just need to rant about it and see if anyone agrees with me. So it all started with me working as a part-time front desk agent in this structure, with 120 rooms in a really, really touristic city of Italy. I have a student visa, so this would be the perfect job to help me pay my bills and university. But since I got hired, things apparently went downhill. For starters, we work with only one person per shift for 120 rooms. You need coffee at the bar. That's on me. You need extra towels. Yep, that's me. You have a problem with the room? Yep, that's also on me. I am literally the only person inside the whole hotel, excluding mornings that have the breakfast crew and cleaning crew. Sometimes there's a handyman to support maintenance, but he does whatever he needs to do, and that's it. He's no help at the front desk. Okay, so far so good. Doesn't seem that bad because I started on December, so the city was pretty empty. Not a lot of check-ins and no tourist groups, but in April, one of the night audit people decided to quit. At this point, there were 3 girls for rotating morning and afternoon, and 2 guys for night, and one of them for also some mornings and afternoons. So we were already understaffed, and things would go really bad if they didn't find another person to replace the one guy of the night that would leave. But did corporate care? Nope. They waited until this guy's last day to search for someone. Obviously, they found 2 or 3 people that either quit before starting or didn't even complete the training. In the meantime, remember the handyman that does maintenance? He's the guy behind the front desk for 2 nights. He's a nice guy, but he doesn't know how to operate a computer. So we had to leave a lot of things printed or handwritten for him in case someone arrives or leaves. A mess. A real mess. Okay. Summer is knocking on the door. We are fully booked for months. Both individual arrivals and also touristic groups. We pass from a slow shift to check in over 250 people alone, while having to respond to phone calls, emails, stupid questions from corporate. I really had panic attacks just from imagining being there working alone. Magically, they find someone to finally replace the guy that left in May. They put him with me to learn, also the morning shift routines, and he literally slept standing while I was in the middle of a sentence and explaining things to him. He was pacing around the reception, taking smoke breaks, and I finally understood why. I am not sure if he has any health issues, but he slept other occasions on this same day. And the next day, he was training with me. Coincidentally, everyone that arrives to change shifts with him finds the computer completely logged off of all systems. They log off after not using anything for some time. I spoke to the manager, and she shrugged and pretended to not listen to me. This guy works with us now and doesn't do a single thing on the system, or whatever he has to process in the night shifts. Seeing this situation, 2 other people quit. One of the girls and the other guy from the night. It was really too much for one person to handle. While everything is falling apart, the quality of the rooms, the lack of personnel, the bad reviews on reserving.com, corporate calls us to complain and try to push us even harder every day. At this point, I'm working full-time since June. I sent an email to HR requesting to start doing my schedule according to the contract that I signed. Also because legally I cannot work full-time because I have a study visa. I received a response basically saying that the company is too good for me and that I should try to keep it together because things have been rough. Really? Was this really shitty management? I'm not joking. Once we received the working schedule with the restaurant open for dinner, with the chef and no waiters on schedule. I texted the manager to explain that this is total nonsense. And she asked me to ask the handyman to help out. Really? The guy unclogging your toilet is also serving your plate in the restaurant. I have so much more to share, but I would have to write a book here. Anyways, that's it. I just needed to rant. 5. You know, nightlife really hits different. Most of these stories are from my first hotel, which, thankful as I am for them giving me a foot in this industry, they weren't the best. Also note, most of these events I was the only auditor working and there was no security. Escapade Weekend 2021. If you're not familiar with Escapade, just know it's a huge EDM festival that happens yearly in my city. And since it's an EDM festival, there are tons of goodies that get passed around, not to mention endless booze. Anyways, the festival I was working at was on the lower end, so it sold out pretty fast. The festival ended around 12 or 1 a.m., so around 1:30 is when they started trickling in, yelling, still drunk. I received a call from the higher floors in regards to someone running down the hallways and knocking on doors. I went to address the situation, and one guest opened the door and saw me, then proceeded to say, "If you can't get this under control, I will be calling my lawyer on you." I went back downstairs to recuperate and figure out what I would do, as I was the only auditor in the hotel. Luckily, 3 police officers were in the area to use the bathroom, and after informing them, they went to patrol the hallways and, in the end, found the guy who turned out to be a guest in the hotel, who lost his key and forgot his room number. Afterwards, I then received a call from our neighboring hotel, just a 2-minute walk away, to be aware of people returning as they shut down a rave in the back of their hotel. About 20 minutes later, I was alerted of the noise on the 2nd floor, and upon inspection, there was a group of 10 boys with furniture from the hotel room in the hallway to make an extra-long beer pong table. I shut it down, but by the time all this was finished, it was only 2 a.m. Luckily, it stayed quiet for the rest of the night. Hockey season. Good old hockey season. The time where you have a bunch of pre-teenage boys running around and doing stupid stuff for the next 3 months. You think the kids are the issue, but nope, it's the parents. Kids would go to different parts of the hotel when they weren't allowed. Some even played hide-and-seek inside the banquet rooms because it was left unlocked. They were playing race cars with luggage carts, too. Not to mention they were running around outside the hotel, yelling, screaming, and no parents were around. I saw some older kids with them and told them if you don't settle down, I will be calling the cops. And they informed the others. Then I had parents coming in like, "You called the cops on my kids?" I shrugged and said, "I did not call the cops. I told them what would happen if they continued, blah blah." Then around 12 a.m. I got a call from the hockey floor, so I did a patrol to guess what. The same said parents were in the hallways drinking booze. Keeping my distance, I was like, "I need to ask you guys to return to your rooms, please. You can't be in the hallways after 11 p.m. They nodded, said okay, and that they'll return. I knew they wouldn't, so I just waited. They continued to talk and look at me. "You can go. We can return to our rooms." And I'm like, "It's okay, I have time, I can wait." Then they went to their rooms with the same lady yelling, "Effing Pascal." 2022 convoy. If you don't keep up with the news, just know a huge protest had happened for a month straight with anti-maskers, white supremacism, racists, truck drivers, etc. Basically, my commute to work was horrible. Loud trucks constantly honking, people yelling, lots of crowds. Very intimidating and exhausting for someone with anxiety. I got to the hotel and it was packed with the lobby full, people drinking, yelling slurs, and even harassing our staff. I made my way to the back and looked at the schedule. I ended up crying on the spot because I was scheduled to work alone all weekend. I'm just shy of 5'2" and female, so management didn't do much. Just tell me not to get involved. I had so many other people yelling at me. Karen's going off about it's stupid, against our rights and freedoms. That I needed their ID to confirm the reservations. Threatening to record me and post it on the internet. Ooh. They were nasty, rude, and just so unpleasant. That weekend I only got 4 hours of sleep. That was pretty much my next few weekends for the rest of the month. I wish I could say more of the stories that happened that month, but I unintentionally blocked it out. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to COAHW. That's Confessions of a Hotel Worker, episode 94. And thank you very much to everyone who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, please do click the like button and share the video around. Let's see if we can get a few hundred extra views on this video, yeah? I think we can do it. Right, let's see. I think we're going to move right along to Hellfreezer's question of the day, because I'm fairly sure the next birthday shout-out's late in the week, Saturday maybe. So let's see, Hellfreezer's question of the day, and today's question is... Alright. One day you're walking along on the beach. I don't know why I'm on the beach, because I never go to those places, but I'm walking along, and I discover a magic lamp in the sand. Pick it up, and I throw it back into the water because I'm not an idiot. I know how these things work. However, if you rub the lamp and that genie did pop out and granted you a wish, offering to either make you smarter or make you better looking, in your opinion, what would you choose? I think I would choose the intelligence boost because I'm already pretty damn handsome. Alright, seriously though, I think I would choose the intelligence boost because I can do more with that than just good looks. Good looks will fade. Intelligence tends to last longer. But you may have a different answer, and let's keep it fun. Let's not get too serious about it, but let me know what you think in a comment below. Okay, and with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.